G'day, in this video, Tim, who is Adventure King's lead electrical engineer, and I will be doing a deep dive into the current market for lithium batteries in Australia.
We're going to show you what to look out for when buying lithium batteries and the ways that some sellers are telling you stories that aren't quite true.
So before we go any further, let's lay out all the competitors. And just a note, we're not picking on any one supplier or seller, but we have been more than a little bit surprised that some people are willing to basically sell their batteries with lies.
The first big lie is the capacity. Just because it says it's 100 or 120 amp hours doesn't make it true. I completed 4 C20 tests for each battery and recorded the best result and the average. So check this out. I've tested 18 of the competitors' batteries, and here's some of the worst performers. Battery A was supposed to be a 100 amp hour. I recorded a maximum of 81 amp hours with an average of 80 amp hours. Battery B was supposed to be 100 amp hours. I recorded a maximum of 66 amp hours with an average of 65 amp hours. Battery C was advertised as 135 amp hours. I recorded a maximum of 126 amp hours and an average of 125. Battery D was supposed to be 200 amp hours. I recorded a maximum of 169 amp hours and an average of 168 amp hours. Battery E was supposed to be a 300 amp hour. I recorded a maximum of 240 amp hours with an average of 239 amp hours. Battery A also didn't have a low voltage cutoff or a high current cutoff. For comparison, the King's 100 amp hour had a maximum of 102 amp hours with an average of 101 amp hours. The King's 200 amp hour had a maximum and an average of 215 amp hours. The King's 300 amp hour had a maximum of 309 amp hours and an average of 308 amp hours. This goes to show you can't always trust what's on the label, and without specialist testing gear, you may never know what you paid for. With King's batteries, you can trust you'll always get in the stated capacity.
Next up, let's talk cycles. Now, I often talk about a lithium battery performing 2,000 cycles as being about 5.5 years of use. And I want to go into that to make it a little clearer. So if you used your battery from 100% down to 0%, and then back up to 100%, that is a cycle. If you did that every single day, 2,000 cycles would be about 5.5 years, because there's 365 days in a year. Even if you used your battery down to 0 every day of every weekend, that's still only 104 days a year. So if you're seeing sellers claiming 6,000 or 8,000 cycles, that's absolutely just being guessed. I'm wondering if you can explain that a little more, Tim.
I'm thinking they're claiming a huge number because no one can actually test it to verify it. Even if you get 1,000 cycles, that's 3 years of use. And after 3 years, you've forgotten about the marketing and they're probably just buying a new battery anyway.
I thought exactly the same thing, and I also noticed that a lot of these huge cycle numbers are based on a partial discharge, so not the whole 100%, it might only be 40%. So your 120 amp hour battery is now actually a 48 amp hour battery, and if you use more than that, you get less cycles.
That's correct, and the other thing is they're quite often tested at a low current rate. King's batteries have cells that are capable of 1C discharge, which means if you've got a 120 amp hour battery, it can be discharged at 120 amps continuous, and you'll still get over 2,000 cycles. Of course, if you lower that charge and discharge rate down, you'll get more life cycles out of it. But it's good to know in extreme circumstances, you're still going to get those 2,000 cycles.
As you can see, it is so important to compare apples with apples. If you do have any more questions, make sure you drop them below. Tim and I will get back to you. And keep an eye out, because in the next video, I'm talking about some lithium battery myths, and in a future video, Tim and I are doing another deep dive, this time on lithium battery compliance in Australia.